Welcome to the Courage Barbell Unlimited podcast with your host, legendary powerlifter and strength athlete, Chad Ikes. For most, the journey of strength starts in the gym, but should inevitably expand through all aspects of life. Join us as we discuss all things strength. Now, here's your host, Chad Ikes.
Hey everybody, I'm back. So this is going to be episode 33, and I'm behind on my quotes episodes, but I'll try to catch up on that. I actually have like 32 of those, so that's pretty good. I didn't start this too long ago, and I've had a few setbacks here and there, but I'm trying to keep cranking stuff out, and kind of looking forward to my 100th episode, which I still got a ways to go, but yeah, whatever. I like to think ahead. Today's episode is going to be a hard one for me because it's kind of near and dear and close to my heart. And it's one that's been on my brain for a few days. As normal, I don't have a huge plan. I keep having these ideas and thoughts. And I keep expanding on them in my head. And I'm like, that's it. I got to get this down. It's close to my heart and it's important to me because it's about training, strength training, and it's about depression. And it's about pushing the human body beyond the normal limits. And there are so many athletes in this world that get to this realm and push beyond this realm. And it messes them up. And it's a scary, shitty, dark, deep place. And I know because I've been there. And this actually happens in lots of different sports. I was reading some studies with soccer players, with bicyclists, and where these guys just start performing bad and they start dealing with this depression. And the counselors are finally starting to go, well, wait a minute, what's their training like? And they find out they're severely overtrained. And as soon as they back them off, what do you know? They start feeling better. They're much happier. And hey, what do you know? With a good, healthy mind, you perform better on the field. You perform better in your sport. Well, it's no different in powerlifting. And I continue to run into this wall of these, these ideas or concepts that are just stuck in the sport and people can't get past them. And we need to start getting past them. Where there's almost, in strength sports, there's almost an acceptance of, to reach this level, you're going to have to deal with these things. You're going to be all pissed off. You're going to be all burnt out. You're going to feel like shit. You're going to have injuries, like all this stuff. It's just that's just the way it is. And I don't buy that. I went through it, and I don't buy that. And there's a few people in the sport that I've been talking to that agree with me. There's a better way. But I'm racking my brain trying to figure out how to get through to people to understand this. So I think the best place to start, a little review of my story, which I'm assuming most of you are listening know. But I started powerlifting as a 27. I started with a 1,700 pound total, which is actually a respectable first total. It's not bad. It's not outstanding, but it's not bad. And as I grew and grew and got stronger and stronger, I got to the point where I was pushing my body so far that I started dealing with some serious sleep issues and some serious depression. And I've dealt with depression my whole life, and I've dealt with sleep issues since I was in about 5th grade. But it's never been like full-on insomnia, sleep issue bad. It's never been like I actually want to kill myself, bad depression. it was just kind of waves of ups and downs and nothing I couldn't deal with. But I had learned early in my life that, listen, there's times where I need to just try to get some sleep and I need to just relax and be alone to get my head right, to deal with this depression. And at those times, I really didn't even know it was depression. I was just doing what I needed to do. I wasn't solving the problem. I wasn't fixing the problem. I just knew how to put Band-Aids on it to get myself back to normal. And I don't recommend Band-Aiding anything. Fix the problem. Hit it head on. Take care of it. And if it's something that you can't cure, then get to the point where you can control it and you are its master. You're not putting Band-Aids on it. You're the master. So anyway, as I got, the stronger and stronger and I got, the further and further I was pushing myself. And it literally got to the point where I would be in my apartment with a gun to my head in tears, trying to figure out, how can I get this pain to stop? Do I have to end it all to get this to stop? Oh, wait, the alarm's going off. It's time to go train. I got to go train. Then I would go train. Then I would come home and be right back in that chair with that gun, trying to figure it out, how can I stop the pain? All training was for me at that point was a little getaway. It was an hour or two to get away from this. And then I would come back to it. And that was a progression. The first time I lifted weights when I was in a freshman in high school, I went, oh, this is cool. Like this, I don't feel as angry anymore after a good session. I'm like, I actually feel good after this. Like I would train till I'm laying on the floor exhausted, but felt great. Training was a way for me to deal with my anger, to deal with my issues. I shouldn't say deal with. It didn't teach me to deal with them. It was a way for me to cover them up. It was a way for me to put a Band-Aid on it. So I did that my whole life. And then when I started training, at one point I was overtraining and I knew it. And I was talking to the people that I was able to be in contact with that were high-level athletes. And one of them told me, like, do you want to be one of the best in the world, or do you want to lift weights to deal with your other problems? I wanted to be one of the best in the world. So that took me down a journey to start dealing with my problems. Why do I have to lift every day? Why is this how I deal with my problems? And as I did that, I started expanding. I actually started training less because I needed more recovery, because I was able to push my body to these crazy limits. And I was lifting weights that a human being doesn't do. I mean, at one point, I had the fourth highest total in history. I had broken world records. I was one of the top-ranked super heavyweights in the world. I was doing stuff that no one else does. I was in a realm, in a territory no one else had been, or maybe a handful of guys had been. Yet I'm following the rules that I used when I first started lifting. Like, I'm following the same rules everyone else is following. I'm following the same rules Joe Blow in the gym follows. I'm following the same program, but I'm one of the best in the world. Like, come on, man. That's not logical. Like, there may be certain outlines, principles, but you shouldn't be training like someone like you did when you first started. So I shouldn't actually say that, because my training did expand over the years. It changed. And basically the biggest change that I made was more and more time off. And every time I took more time off, the stronger I got. Every time I made my team take more time off, the stronger they got. The less we did, the stronger we got. And that happened over years. And every single time, everyone got stronger. But I wasn't taking enough time off. I went off the beaten path. But once I got so far off the beaten path, I started worrying that, well, I'm too far off the beaten path now. Like, I can't keep going this direction. I need to kind of come back to the norm of what people are doing. One of the biggest mistakes I've ever made in my life. I should have kept going the way I was going. And I should have taken it further. But I didn't have the confidence to do that. So I ended up pushing myself into this great hole. and when I was putting up the best numbers I had ever put up, and when I was close to putting up the all-time total, and just who knows where I could have taken it. All I needed to do was back off some more. All I needed to do was keep following the same path. If I would have added a couple more days off, if I would have taken 3 or 4 weeks off, I would have been able to do it. I would have crushed everything, but I didn't. I thought, okay, now I need to turn it up. Now everybody's right. I need to start doing more. I need to start doing more volume. I need to start lifting more often. And I blew myself down a bad, deep, dark hole. And luckily, I had always surrounded myself with good people. And luckily, my family's really cool. And people pulled me to the side and had sit-downs with me and told me, I'm not going to live if I don't do something. And they're right. I would have. I would have ended up killing myself. I have no doubt about it. So I backed off. A lot of other stuff happened. I started having too many injuries. Even when I backed off by that point, I was so far gone. It was just crazy. So this whole story I've just told you is to try and explain my passion for this and why it matters to me. Because I have actually had conversations with friends and people like, dude, you can only help who you can help. If they don't want your help, you can't do it. Just help the people that you can and be happy. Well, that's hard for me. I don't take that well. I don't do well with that. What's the serenity prayer? God grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change and change the things I can. Well, I kind of call bullshit. Maybe I can't reach him now, but if I keep trying, maybe I can figure out a way to get through to these lifters. Maybe I can figure out a way to get people to see the logic that I see, to see things from the perspective that I have, even a little bit. Even if I can get them to go, hey, wait a minute, maybe I need to start thinking more about recovery and growth than the stimulation process of growth. And I have a few close friends that could be unbelievable legends. And they're on that cusp where I was at. They're following the same path that I followed in a way. And I can see the signs of this mental fatigue and this mental depression. And I can see their bodies. And they're still getting stronger, so they don't see it. And they don't want to believe it because what I'm saying is not, it's so far from the norm. It's hard to believe. And I want to explain to these people and show them. And if they could just hear me, I don't want anyone to go where I went. But I'm hearing changes in this direction from some lifters, but I'm also still hearing these horror stories. And people are like, oh, yeah, whatever, I was depressed and I went through this. But that's what you got to do to get that strong, And I'm like, no, it's not. It's not what you got to do. If you're that far gone, if your body is that overdone that you're suffering from depression, you've pushed it pretty goddamn far. And you need to let it heal up. And one of my biggest problems with this is, and I know this because of my depression and looking at my past, and I know this from all the people that have opened up to me about their depression and watching people going through depression. Our brain is not working right when we're in depression. We do not make intelligent decisions. We make a lot of messed up, emotional, tweaked logic, like dumb decisions. Like I look back at some of my times when I was suffering from depression and I'm like, oh, really? Like I can remember being so sure and thinking I was right and looking back now and going, that was almost insanity. Like what the hell? Why couldn't I see that? Well, I couldn't see it because my brain was tweaked. Suffering from depression. Like I wasn't making good decisions. So you set up this I don't know how I want to say this. You set up this scenario where now you're pushing yourself. You're on the cusp. You're on the edge. Like you're trying to ride this line going for these huge numbers. You need to be making intelligent, smart decisions. You need to be reading your body. You need to be clear. But you push too far and now you're in depression. Now you're making horrible decisions when you need to be making smart decisions. And it's so easy to push yourself over this cliff. And it's like this deep, dark whirlpool that once you get in it, it just keeps sucking you down. And I don't want my friends. I don't want people I know. I don't want anyone to be in the place I was. I don't want anyone to ever know this place. And maybe I got out of it because I was in it. I hit bottom and I had two choices. And luckily I had enough light inside of me. I had enough hope still inside of me that I was able to fight my way out. It scares me because there's a lot of people that have gotten there that weren't able to get out. A lot of really good people, actually. So we have these lifters that push to this limit. And here I am looking at this and seeing this and wanting to help. But how do I help? How do I reach them? How do I get them to see? Because they're already making bad decisions. You know, and you go, hey, you just need to back off and you'll be fine. No, I can't back off. I got a meet coming up. No, I can't back off. This is we're here. I just got to this level. I need to start training harder now. No, you just got to this level. You need to start resting more. But they can't see it at this point. And the funny part is a lot of lifters can't see it at all. Even ones that aren't to this point yet, they're on the journey to this point. And they won't see it. And there's a lot of guys in lifting that get to this point. They get stuck in this mid-level ranking of like strength sports. And they get stuck there because they think more. The more I do, the better I'm going to be. The more I do, the better I'm going to be. I got to train harder. And it's like, no, you've reached this level. You've trained your body. Your central nervous system has been trained. Your muscle recruitment, your technique, like you're getting efficient now. You know how to push your body. And then I think where the disconnect here is that lifters get stuck in thinking about the skeletal and muscular system. All they're worried about is, are my muscles recovered? They don't think about the central nervous system. They don't think about the lymphatic system, the immune system, the circulatory system, the digestive system. Once you start overtraining, this is one of the biggest, worst problems to fuck up your gains, is to mess up all of your systems. So once you trigger that digestive system and you've overtrained it and it's struggling to keep up, now the nutrition that you need to recover from your training is not happening as well because you overtrained your digestive system. You're starting to get sick because now you've overtrained your immune system. Your immune system can't fight off the things that are coming into it. And even when it is, now it's taxing other stuff because the whole system's so shit. Your circulatory system is not prime, so you're not recovering as well. It's the blood that carries the nutrients throughout the body. Your central nervous system, like the depression, like I talked about, you're now not thinking clearly. You're overtaxing your central nervous system. So now even your muscles aren't firing as hard. The system is not sending the currents as fast. It's affecting your attitude. It's affecting how you look at things. You know, in order to be one of the best, to be a top athlete, you need to be in prime condition. That means when you go into a competition, you shouldn't be fighting depression. You should be on top of the world. Things should be firing at 100%. Your body should be rocking and rolling. Your brain's going good. Your athletic ability's going good. Your muscles feel good. Your tendons, your ligaments, your bones. Like you should be blasting. But for some reason, lifters think they're supposed to go and beat the crap. Like, I'm going to push it right up to the meat. Why? You're not going to get stronger in the last few weeks. You're not going to get stronger in the last month. Like, why are you pushing so hard to get in there? Why can't you see that the body is a system? Yes, it's made up of all these different systems, but they all work together. They all need to be prime. And now one of the scary parts about this is that you can still get stronger when you're overtraining. You can still be putting up better numbers. So I think what happens with a lot of lifters, and I think what happened with me, is I'm like, well, I'm still getting stronger. Well, I'm still getting stronger, so maybe this isn't because of my lifting. It's because of something else. Which is possible, but not likely. So I'm sitting in a room with a gun to my head in tears. I go to the gym, I come home. Do you know I'm still getting stronger? Like, my gains didn't stop. I was still getting stronger. Every meet I was going to, I was still putting up bigger numbers. So it was easy for me to lie to myself. It was easy for me to go, no, this is separate. This is something else. It's not because of my training. Like, no, my sleep's not getting worse because of my training. It is getting worse. Which, sleep's another central nervous system issue with the parasympathetic and the sympathetic, with what's the gland, the perineal, I think it's the perineal gland that actually controls the sleep-wake cycles, and it does that by releasing these hormones. You mess all that up. You mess your sleep up. Now, I was very fortunate that I kind of began to see that sleep, because my sleep is so horrible, I was beginning to see in my training partners, when they started overtraining, it was triggered with sleep first. And the sleep would start getting seriously restless, and the quality would drop. And I would see it in the lifters, and I would see in their performance. And I'd be like, whoa, you're done, dude. You're backing off until you sleep solid again. So I was able to keep my training partners from going down the path that I took. At the same time, I wasn't regulating myself as well with that. And I had my own issues to deal with as well, which are my sleep problems, my tendency for depression already there. None of my partners had sleep issues. None of them really dealt with depression. So I was able to keep them from ever going to that place. But I did that by backing them off. I did that by not letting them make the mistake that I made of going, hey, things are happening. You need to listen to your body. And if you're not going to listen to your body, I'm going to listen to it, and I'm going to not let you come in and train. And we had some fights sometimes about that, but I always won. They always backed off. When they came back, they were back at it, and they're like, hey, man, I'm sleeping. I feel good. Bam, their numbers start going up again. Everything's perfect. Luckily, that's where my horrible shit has been a positive. But I want to turn it into more of a positive. That's why I'm talking on this podcast right now about this. So you have this kind of perfect storm. And I don't understand where, and this was my downfall, like I mentioned earlier. The closer I got to my all-time goal that I wanted to reach, the more I felt like I had to work more. Which doesn't make sense. Why on earth would I think that I have to work more? Why wouldn't I see with clarity that, hey, I earned this right. I worked my ass off. I sacrificed to have this muscle control. I put in the hours in the gym to get my technique perfect. I put in the hours to get this strong. My reward is that now I can keep getting stronger and train less often. All the things I gave up, all the hobbies I gave up, maybe suffering relationships. Now I can fit all this stuff into my life much easier and much better. So it's a reward. It's a benefit. It actually makes sense. All your hard work paid off. Why do we still feel like we need to train more? Why do we feel that urge that a more is a little better? Instead, why don't we go, hey, I don't need to train as much. I can stimulate growth much easier now. So maybe I need to focus more on recovery. Maybe I need to focus more on the growth phase, because you have to stimulate growth. Then you have to let your body recover from that training, which is a huge depletion on the whole system. So you can't go, oh, I'm not sore today, so I must be good. Did everything else in your body heal? Has every other system of your body recovered? Because it's all important. Are you sleeping better? Is your body regulating itself better? Say body temperature. Is your immune system firing right? Is your digestive system firing right? Okay, perfect. Now you have to give the body time to grow from that stimulus. You're recovered. You haven't grown stronger yet. You have to let the body grow stronger. It's going to go, hey, we had the stimulus. It sucked everything out of us. We got to prepare in case that happens again. That takes time too. Then you can go back in and train. And so every single time you train, you theoretically should be a little stronger. Now, there's a lot of other factors in this, but over time, you should always be on this gradual growth phase. And that can still happen. Like I said, you can be overtrained and that can still happen. But the thing is, you're not growing, even if you are still growing, you're not growing at the rate that you could be growing at. You could be putting in a lot less work and growing stronger faster. Because everything you do beyond just the stimulation of growth is going to take more time to recover from. And now there's also the factor of, like I said, one of the hardest things I've ever done in my training, it wasn't training hard. It wasn't sacrificing things such as motorcycles or going out on weekends or any of that. It was backing off of training. That was the single hardest thing I ever did. Going, hey, I can't go in and train 5 and 6 days a week for multiple hours. All that does is breaks my system down, and I'm not going to get where I want to be doing that. That was unbelievably hard because I had to actually go inside myself. I had to ask myself, why do I need to train every day? Why can't I just train what I need to train when I need to train and then go do other stuff? Why do I need that stimulation, that intensity, that endorphin rush every single day? And it's funny, I was having a text conversation, I guess you would say, IG message conversation with a friend of mine, a really, really smart younger guy. And we were kind of talking about this, and he goes, it's an addiction. He goes, it's no different than drugs. It's no different than alcohol. And I'm like, that's a solid point. And for me, it was almost an addiction. It was this release. Like I could have the worst day. I could be pissed off, but I could go in a gym and just train my ass off. And afterwards, I'm exhausted, but I'm happy. I got a smile on my face. I'm calm. Like there's this chemical release in my head. I was addicted to training. Luckily, I had Dave Tate to wake my ass up and go, what do you really want? If you say you want to be one of the best in the world, then you got to figure this shit out because you can't go do this every day in the gym. What do you want? And I think that's one of the biggest things. And I started asking this question of lifters. If you could have the strength that you have now, possibly be even stronger, and only be in the gym 2 to 3 days a week for less than an hour? Would you do that? Almost every one of them said no. They want to be in the gym 5 days a week. They want to be in there for 3 or 4 hours at a pop. That's a problem. Why? Why don't you want to have more time for your family? Why don't you want to have more time for your kids? Why don't you want to have more time for your girlfriend? Why don't you want to have more time to pursue other hobbies, to educate yourself, to even educate yourself about training more, to start a podcast? Like, you could be making better gains and having more time for all these other great things in life. Why do we feel the need to be in the gym all the time? Why do we have to have that? So as I said, that was, for me, that was hard. I had to go inside myself. I had to realize things about myself. I had to go on these journeys to review my childhood, to find out who I was and why I was like I was. And that was not easy. That was super difficult. So a lot of things came up that I didn't even ever realize. And I had to deal with those things. And I had to make it okay. And granted, this was a journey. This did not happen overnight. I think I told some friends the other day, I'm like, actually, I discovered recovery sessions and started doing GPP sessions because I was like, okay, well, here, I can't train hard this many days a week, but what if I did something where I was still in the gym, but it didn't mess up my recovery, but it let me recover? What if it maybe helped my recovery? And that's how I started doing recovery sessions and GPP sessions. And I'm like, okay, because then in my brain, it was like, well, you were in the gym, so it's cool. The world's okay. Everything's all right. Like, yeah, it was kind of boring. You didn't really kill yourself. You didn't strain, but you were still in the gym. You still lifted. You know, it's kind of okay. And so for me, that was a Band-Aid. That was a coping mechanism. But I knew my focus still, and I was still working on why. Why do I have to have this? Why do I feel like I need to train? Why on earth would I feel like if I miss one day, I'm going to lose strength? Why on earth would I feel like, oh, I'm going to get hugely fat because I missed 2 days? I mean, I had all these logical emotions, and I see so many people that have these illogical emotions. And I remember hearing something that Mike Mentzer had said, where he asked a lot of lifters, he's like, have you ever taken a week off? And they're like, well, yeah, you know, if I'm on vacation or whatever like this, I didn't train for, 5 days or 6 days or maybe a week. And he's like, well, what happened when you took that week off? And they're like, well, I came back and I was actually stronger. And he's like, well, then why are you so freaked out if you miss a day or two or you miss one session? Like, something horrible is going to happen. Like, you literally cannot lose that much muscle in a day or two. You literally cannot lose that much strength in a day or two. You literally cannot put that much fat on in that short period of time. And when I heard this, I thought back to my childhood. And I remember when I started training, everything that I read from my perspective. I was looking to hear what I thought. I was looking to hear what I wanted to hear. And I grew up blue collar. You're proud of being a hard worker. You're proud of busting your ass. Like, the harder the work, the more you can take, the bigger of a man you are. So that's what I wanted to hear. I wanted someone to go, Chad, you got to squat for 3 hours. Perfect. You know what? I'm going to squat till I can't walk up the stairs. That'll be how I know I'm done. I didn't want to miss any sessions. And when I was in high school, I got in these big fights with my dad. Because my dad's like, you're doing too much. You need to back off of this. You're too intense. Like, there's other things in life. There's more to life. It ain't going to matter if you miss a couple. And I'm like, no, I can't miss one. If I was sick, I still trained. If I literally couldn't train because I had the shits or something, then the next day I'm doing 2. Like, I'm not missing a session. If I do, I'm making it up. There was a few times, though, that my dad forced me, would drag me away on vacation or something. And so I might do some push-ups or something, but I didn't have weights. And I'm like, oh, screw it, whatever. And I tried to go have a good time on my vacation. The funny thing is, looking back, every time that happened, and I think it happened at least 3, maybe 4 times, as that week progressed, I'd be like, wow, man, I feel really good. And I'm like, my muscles feel good. And I'd like feel my chest. And I'm like, dude, I think my chest got bigger. Holy shit. I think my arm got bigger. Look at my thighs, man. And by the end of the week, I would come back and look in the mirror and I'm like, holy shit, man. What? Look at that. Fuck. Like I got bigger. I got more defined. Well, shit. What do you think the first thing that pops into my head? Oh, it's working. I got to get back to training my ass off. I did not realize I was blind to what was right in front of me. You finally gave your body a chance to recover, and it grew. I'm a dumb ass kid, and I go, oh, it's working. Got to get back to training my ass off. I got to train harder now because now it's working. Completely and utterly illogical and stupid. Full on, I'm a dumbass. Like, I should have seen that. But I didn't. I can look back now, though, and go, wow. We're trained in high school. Great. No regrets, though, because I loved it. And it built incredible tendon and ligament strength. And when I did go into powerlifting, I think that's why I was able to total 1,700 my first meet. That's why I was able to become the level I had, because I had this crazy base. I was able to push myself to these crazy limits. But then again, that was a catch-22. Being able to push that way, being able to do that meant I needed more time off. I needed more rest. So we come back now, and I'm pretty much retired, and I'm playing with all these different concepts and ideas, and I train people online, and I consult with people, and I train people in person, and I'm watching all the people that I have, but I have people that I consult, and I've had people that are high-level lifters, and they talk to me, do a consultation, and I'm like, man, they're ready to quit powerlifting. And I'm like, you're doing too much. You're beating yourself up. Like, you need to back off. You need to give yourself time to recover fully and then grow. So I convinced them to train less. What do you know? They start growing. One of these guys, we're talking 1,000-pound squat, high 700 bench, like high 7, almost 800 deadlift. Like, this is a high-level guy. Starts doing better, starts improving, feeling better, actually texting me like, what is this voodoo magic you got me doing? How is this working? And I'm like, it's actually really simple. It's the 3-phase process. Stimulate growth, recover from the training, allow the body time to grow. But after enough time passes, I don't know, 6, 8 months, a year, he starts training more often again. I'm like, why? It was working. And he goes, well, these sessions, I was only training a couple times a week heavy. So if I had a bad session, I'm like, it's just not enough training. I need more training. I'm like, but it was working, right? Well, yeah. Then why? Why do we have this ingrained more is better idea? And we do have the more is better idea, but why don't we go, okay, in terms of recovery and growth, I need more of that. Why do we need more stimulation? Stimulating the growth is the easy part. I can name you all kinds of different ways to train that will stimulate the growth. And if you have the right recovery and growth phase, bam, it works. Why are we so focused on that one? Why can we not understand that it's about the body as a whole? Why are we compartmentalizing our own systems? Well, as long as my muscular system is growing stronger, I don't care. Well, if any of the other ones are overtrained at all, it's affecting that system. You can't compartmentalize the systems of the human body. They all work together. Especially the mind. The mind is so important to strength sports. I mean, like, what is it? One of this, I used to tell everybody, strength is 90% mental. It really is. Like, even what I'm talking about right now, the fact that people will overtrain into depression and spiral themselves down, this is a mental issue. Their brain is not strong enough for them to see what is actually happening. They've gotten caught up in a lie. And now they're lying to themselves. Like, I've seen lifters that have not made progress over years and years and years. And I'm like, okay, well, I mean, what have you done? Have you done the same thing? Yeah, I just got to keep training harder and it's going to happen. Like, when's it going to happen? Like, you think all of a sudden you haven't made any progress in a year, or you put 5 pounds on your bench and you're like, oh, well, it's going to happen. I'm going to keep doing the same thing. It's going to happen. That's not logical. Or one of my favorite things is when it doesn't happen, I got to do more. I got to do more. I got to do more. And I go, have you ever tried backing off? No, that won't work. What do you mean it won't work? Have you ever tried it? No, I haven't tried it. I know it won't work for me. I got to do more. I go, well, have you done more? Yeah, I've done more. And it didn't work, right? No. So I got to do more. Like, I got to bench 5 days a week. Okay. Really? That's what you think. That's your best. Instead of going, hey, I have nothing to lose. Why don't I try this? You're not. And you're so afraid. Oh, no. If I only bench once a week, who knows what'll happen? I'm like, what's the worst that can happen? You haven't made a gain in a year. What's the worst going to happen if you try to bench once a week for a couple months? You haven't made any gains anyway. So you think if you only bench once a month, you're going to lose strength? It's not logical. This is not logical thinking. But the one that concerns me the most is the people pushing into depression. And, like, it hurts my fucking heart, man. I don't want anyone to go through that. And I see people going through this and they don't have to. If they could just see that less can be more. And I mean, I'm on the far range. I already have bad sleep. I already have narcolepsy. I already have depression issues. I mean, and this is it too, is I've been through this. Like, I see people they're in the exact same path I was on. Where here, it kind of starts here, and then you start doing this, and then this trigger happens, and then this trigger happens. And I'm watching these people go through this, and I'm like, please just listen to me. I know where this is going. And I know how hard it is to change. I know what you're going through. I know your body and brain are telling you more. Got to do more. Well, I don't need to sleep. Like, I'm tough. I'm going to mentally get through that. Like, no, you don't have to do that. You can lift crazy, insane amounts of weight and be healthy mentally. You can go to meets and feel good. And you can go to a meet and be successful and break world records. And the next day you're just a little sore. If you're prime and you go at 100%, you're 100% recovered. You can get through this stuff. If you're pushing your body so hard, you're dealing with depression, you're pushing too hard. Like, your body is not recovering and it's only going to get worse. Heavy, intense training has a systemic effect on the whole body. If you want to, research it. The shit's there. Like this, to me, this is just common sense. And when you overtrain and you do it over time, it's this buildup and it's this little effect of getting behind and a little more behind, a little more behind, a little more behind. And a lot of times the muscles can kind of keep up and you can kind of continue to gain strength. But the whole time the CNS is going out. The digestive system's struggling. The immune system's struggling. So you're not seeing all these other parts. And the more and more that happens, the longer and longer it takes you to recover. The less and less growth phase most people are having, if they're having any growth phase in between there. You're just digging a hole deeper and deeper and deeper. I love this sport. I love weightlifting. Okay, not really weightlifting. I hate the snatch. I like the clean and jerk. But I love weight training. I love powerlifting. I love all the strength sports. Like, I literally love this sport. I will never be done lifting weights. I love the people that are in this field. I don't want to see them making the same mistake that I made. I want to see everybody do better. I wish a 400-pound bench press was normal for people that want to strength train. Like, that's like, yeah, everybody's like, yeah, 400 pounds, whatever, no big deal. And then all kinds of guys are hitting 5s and 6s and 7s. And doing it happy and healthy. So to see people continually pushing to this point, thinking that that's what they need to do, it hurts me, man. It hurts my heart. I want everyone to be as successful as possible. And a lot of people get out of this sport because they're not making the gains they want. And a lot of times they're not following the simple principle. And granted, don't get me wrong. There's tons and tons of people that do not push themselves enough. But what I'm talking about here is the people that push themselves so hard and so far that they're pushing themselves into depression. And this is not going to happen with newer lifters. It's not going to happen with lower level lifters. I mean, this kind of starts happening with middle to high level to extremely high level lifters. And I think it just gets worse the higher and higher they go. Because I've known so many top athletes that just, it's horror stories. It's just horror stories. Like, people think, oh man, it's so awesome that these guys are this strong, and I bet it's cool, and I bet their lives are awesome. And a lot of them they're dealing with all this horrible shit just simply because there's this concept and it's become normal to think that. And again, I want to reiterate, I've seen lifters talk to lifters and I've made this mistake. I didn't want to recognize the level I was at. I didn't want to recognize that it was different. I didn't want to recognize, and still don't, how everything impacts me. It's something I'm continually working on. For example, if I don't get to ride my bike for a couple weeks and I'm like, I finally get a chance, man, I'm going to go for a 20-mile BMX bike ride. Oh, it's a bike ride. It's normal. It's no big deal. Like, I'll act like it didn't impact me at all. Well, the fact is, it's still standing up on a BMX bike for 20 miles. It's a lot of pedaling. It's a lot of stress on your glutes, your hamstrings. It's stress on the body. It's training. I don't want to recognize that. When I had a physical job, I'm like, well, that's just my job. It doesn't count. Yeah, it actually does count. It's still stress in the system. Stop compartmentalizing. So if you're working a lot of hours, if you have a lot of stress in your life, that impacts everything. It is a system. Stop compartmentalizing it. But even when I was at the higher levels, I'm like, oh, well, Joe Blow, every other idiot in the gym can do this. If they can train that many days a week, I can. I didn't want to recognize that I was in a whole different plane than these people. Completely different plane. If you are such a good athlete, you broke a world record. If you're such a good lifter that you're competing, actually earned and competing in a serious world championship or a high money championship, you are a 1%er. You have a skill that nobody in these other gyms has. Training changes. The better you get, if you track my whole career, if you track all my training partners, if you track the athletes that I train now, the better they get, the training has to change. Because they can do more to their bodies. They can push more. They can take their body places other people can't take it. You have to take that into consideration. Like if you could just get better. If you could go, well, I squat 1,300 pounds, so like, you know, I should be able to do 1,000 pounds for this many reps, and I'm used to it, so I should be able to do it every day. Because it's normal for me now. It's not fucking normal. You can't do it every day. When I was lifting at my best, 1,200 pound squatter. There's days I'd go in and 800 felt like a freaking house. Like I couldn't do 1,200 every day. And the stronger I got, the more I taxed my body every time I did go heavy. The more recovery it took. Because the fact of the matter is, the body's only going to get so strong. If it truly could continue to get, like you can train for endurance and you can do these crazy long runs. But do you see people sprinting for, you know, the mile? I mean, actually the mile, they're running pretty quick through the mile nowadays. But I mean, it's still not a full-on sprint. You can't full-on sprint for a mile. You can't sprint through a marathon. Although some of them canyons, holy crap, they keep a crazy pace. You know, it doesn't happen. You can't go, a bodybuilder can't go, well, I'm going to train 20 hours a day and sleep 4 because I'm going to get used to it at some point and I can continue to grow. Like you can't continue to increase your volume to where you're like, oh yeah, this is a normal weight. Like you're never going to get to the point where you can go in and bench 1,000 pounds every day and do 10 reps. It's not going to happen. The body doesn't work that way. If it worked that way, bodybuilders would be training 20 hours a day. I know some crazy guys that, like, if you would have told me, hey, Chad, like, if you squat every day and you train 8 hours a day, you'll continue to get stronger, and you'll get even stronger. And the more time you spend in the gym, the stronger you're going to get. Hell yeah, hell yeah. That's what I want to hear. But it ain't the truth. There's a point. And then everyone is different. Everyone can handle different loads. So I'm not even saying, hey, you need to do this many sessions. You need to only train this much. I'm saying pay attention to the principles and think about this. And if you're not making the gains, you need to first go, hey, is my intensity? Am I actually pushing? Am I actually stimulating growth? If you are, then you got to go, well, wait a minute. Well, how come I'm not growing then? Am I not getting enough nutrition? Am I not getting enough sleep? And you can go down the list and you can check those. If all of those are perfect, you have to look at the fact that maybe your body can only put on so much muscle in a certain amount of time. Get that. Not put on so much muscle. Sorry for the pause. Not put on so much muscle in a certain amount of time. Like your body can only build muscle so fast. It can only repair so fast. So if you're not making gains and you're doing everything you can to recover the best you can, you have to look at the fact that you need more recovery. That is the absolute logical approach to that. To go, oh, I need to train more. That's not logical. There's no sense in that. That doesn't make sense. If you're training right now, and even if you're making some gains, but your brain is tweaked, if you're suffering from depression, your body is not keeping up. There could be a chance that you deal with depression anyway. You have a chemical imbalance, whatever's going on. But if that's the case, if you deal with that despite training, you probably have medication, and that medication should help. If it's helped before, it should help now. If it is not helping now, or if you don't normally deal with depression, but now it's severe, your body is not recovering. Trust me, what do you have to lose? What do you have to lose to take a little bit of time off? To give yourself even a few days and see if it gets better. But odds are, the tricky part of all this is sometimes you can be so pushed over the edge that it's going to take more than a few days. You might not see much change in a few days. It might take a week. It might take 2 weeks. In the long run, you're going to be better if you keep pushing into that place. You're doing such damage to your body. You're doing damage to the systems of your body. And you're not making the gains you could. You're not getting to where you could. And over time, it's going to take its toll, and it's going to take its toll with the mental effect. It's going to take its toll with the bad decisions. It's going to take its toll with injuries. And who knows what other kind of sicknesses it might take a toll on. Even stressing your organs, everything. What do you have to lose to back off a little bit, to give yourself a little bit of time? Why do you want to deal with depression? I hate fucking depression. I hate it with a passion. Nowadays, I do everything I can do to keep it away, to keep my brain clear, to keep my thinking clear. Why on earth would you want to push into that when you don't have to? And you can make more gains by backing off anyway. And if you do suffer from this, if you do suffer from this depression, back off, get yourself healthy. I mean, I don't know how long it's going to take. You know, how long have you been depressed? If you've been fighting it for 3 to 4 months, the longer you've been fighting it, probably the longer it's going to take to get your body healthy. And I'm not saying don't just stop. Like, I'm just not going to train no more because Chad said. No, Chad, that's not what Chad's saying. Chad's saying back off the heavy stuff. Back off that super max stuff. Back off that explosive dynamic stuff. Start walking more. Start going in and doing recovery sessions. Stay mobile. Work on your mobility, your flexibility. Still go into the gym and do some stuff. But control it. Drop the intensity so low that your body can continue to stay in a recovery phase and a growth phase. And let it get back to where it needs to be. Because then you're going to be prime to start building the strength again. And now you can start looking at these things and you can find these triggers. And I know because I did this and I'm doing it now. And yeah, I don't have the strength I had before, but I'm still playing around with it and I'm still learning. And I have times where I'm focusing on other business, or my strength will drop way low. In the last 5 or 7 years, I've let my strength drop seriously low multiple times. Most of those times were all for health reasons and starting to learn my depression and figuring things out. Or my sleep took a whole horrible turn and I don't want it to get really bad. And then I build my strength back. And every time I build my strength back, I try to learn more. I try to see my triggers. I try to go, wait a minute, what's the fastest way I can get my strength back where I think it's respectable? And the funny thing is, less is always more. It's always been more. I'm experimenting with my clients now because I talk to them about this stuff and I explain this stuff to them. And I go, hey, listen, everything we've been talking about, I'd like to try this. What do you think? I'm not going to force them to do it. Luckily, I have a lot of really cool clients who are like, wow. And then we get done and we're talking about, wow, look at the gains you made doing less. Look how much leaner and ripped up you are, and you're training less than you've ever trained. But again, don't forget that this is an expansion over time. This doesn't happen overnight. I'm not telling a new lifter to train once a week. A new lifter can train 5 days a week probably and get away with it. They don't have the ability to push too hard yet. They need to develop that. They need to train hard. But when you first start training hard like that, be aware of these other things that can happen. Be aware of this addiction. Don't let it control you. You control it. This whole fucking sport is about strength. But to get true strength, you got to have mental strength. You got to have the strength to go, wait a minute, I know my body. I know my feelings are saying do more, but that's not logical. How much of a badass am I? How strong am I? Can I back off? Can I go past my feelings and use my brain and my logic and do what's right? Do what's going to get me the most pounds? Because I don't care who you are. The baddest thing is to go to a competition and kick everyone's ass. The baddest thing is to break a world record, break an all-time record. That's the shit. To me, that's what it's all about. If you're that guy that wants to go to the gym and beat the crap out of yourself and that's how you want to live your life, that's cool, man. Just don't tell me you want something else. Just be honest about what you want. That's what you want to do. So this whole thing, courage. That's why it's Courage Barbell. Have the courage to go, wait a minute. I don't want to go through depression. If I'm depressed, what else am I screwing up in my life? Why am I making my life harder? Why am I having to go through this? Why am I letting everything I said I wanted fall to the side? Like, why am I not pushing? Because I'm caught up? Because I don't have the courage to look past the norms? Because I don't have the courage to see how good I am and how further advanced I am than a lot of other lifters. And maybe I need to take my own path at this point. To have the courage to go, wait a minute, I know backing off is going to be hard. I know this is going to be tough. I know there's going to be adjustments. But you know what? I am a badass. I am strong. I am courageous. So I'm going to try this because there's logic to it. My fear that I'm going to lose 100 pounds on my bench if I miss 2 training sessions is not logical. And I need to look past this. And I'm going to have the courage to do so. Like, how courageous are you? How strong are you? How tough are you? Can you do what it's going to take to make you the best lifter you can be? That's kind of what all this boils down to. You know, the gym is this wonderful, beautiful, amazing place to me. So much about the world that's just effed up, if you ask me. The gym makes sense. But just like everything else, if you don't listen, if you don't think, if you don't use your brain, the gym will eat you up like anything else. It will become an addiction that will injure you and beat you up, and you'll be a 50-year-old beat up dude, just sore all the time. But if you use your head, if you use your intelligence, you can learn so much from the gym. You can have all these great journeys and these great experiences that build you from the inside out, that make you tough in every aspect of your life. But you got to do it right. You can't half-ass it. You can't go in there with this meathead mentality of lift more, me lift heavy, me lift more, me eat more. That's what I do. You got to go in there being smart. Be smart. Be successful. Don't push yourself to places that are horrible that you don't have to go. Especially if you have loved ones around you and people that care about you, and they got to watch you do this to yourself when there's no reason to, because it's not helping you achieve your goal. It's actually pushing you farther away from your goal. And I get it. I went through all this stuff. I deal with all this stuff. I was talking to one of my clients the other day. And I told him, it's funny because even with you guys, there's part of me that goes, "Ooh, things are going good, man. I wonder if I could kick him up and maybe get 5 days a week out of you." And I know it's stupid. It's not logical. They're doing great. They're making gains. They're doing awesome. What I should be thinking is, wow, I wonder if we backed off or we added one more day off every 2 weeks. I wonder if that would help them progress even better. And what's the worst that could happen? One day every week or every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks isn't going to make a huge difference. But what if you did it and you went, wow, now their gains are coming faster. They were doing one more rep every session. Now all of a sudden they're doing 1 rep every session, and every other session they're adding 2 reps, which means we're adding another 10 pounds. Like, what if? This whole thing boils down to the 3 principles. Stimulation of growth. Growth meaning strength and muscle. Recovery from the training session. Time to grow. We should be, instead of thinking how much stimulation of growth can we do, we need to be thinking of how little stimulation of growth can we do to give us that, to make the recovery faster and give us more time for the growth phase. Our thinking is tweaked and we need to change it. So it shouldn't be how much and how hard and how often can I train. It should be, hey, how intense can I train in how short a session? And then let's get to the real part of this, because we don't get stronger in the gym. We get stronger when we're in the growth phase. Okay, I think I've hammered this enough for this one session. I'm hoping this seeps in just a little bit. I hope if you do deal with depression in life or deal with depression in training, through training, that this gives you a little something to think about. I hope that the lifters out there that are struggling and not making the gains that they want, I hope this gives them something to think about, something to try. And maybe an avenue to get back on track, to start making gains, to start training and being happy and going into competitions feeling like $1 million and ready to dominate. Thank you guys for listening. This was way longer than I planned on, but I'm hoping that it helps. I'm hoping I came through clearly. And I'm going to go eat something for recovery. Thank you guys for listening. Until next time, I'm out of here.
Thanks for listening to the Courage Barbell Unlimited podcast. For more information, please visit CourageBarbell.com. Until next time.